which is around 30% of all Quebecers. But since their talk on Quebec's sovereignty was rather mute, it failed to attract their usual base, and in turn, they were willing to vote for a party which talked big about Quebec autonomy, even though they were not sovereignist. With all of this, and on the day of the election, François Legault won a decisive victory, doing surprisingly well with every demographic. All that I've said, it makes it seem that his victory was like a fluke. Of course, François Legault and his party's own doing contributed to his victory, but it was also the unpopularity of the two legacy parties that gave a lot of vote to CAQ. The planets were all aligned in favor for Legault. Surely, he would not be able to achieve another victory like this, right? Well, in the 2022 election, François Legault managed to win an even more decisive victory than the previous one. Did my entire analysis have been wrong? Well, I don't think so. You see, François Legault's first mandate was entirely judged by COVID. Around the world, a lot of government, led by more right-wing figures, leaders who lean more toward free market capitalism, were pretty soft on COVID. They didn't want to enforce COVID lockdown and temporarily shut down businesses because they didn't took the virus seriously, or they thought it would have too much disruption in the free market, or just straight up, the rich business owner who funded heavily into these leaders would not have been happy that their workers were not working. One of the worst examples of this was Brazil, which during the COVID-19 pandemic was led by their far-right president Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro did not care at all about the virus, and this resulted in Brazil having the second highest death toll by COVID, despite being only the 7th biggest country by population. So when you got a place like Quebec, who doesn't have the most hardcore workaholic mindset, if François Legault would have done like these other right-wing leaders, then things could have gotten really chaotic. Mind you, back in 2012, when the Liberal Party of Quebec tried to raise the university tuition fee, this prompted a nationwide protest that about half of all Quebec students participated. So if François Legault would have put Quebecers at risk of a deadly virus just so that a couple of rich people could have gotten their wallets even fatter, Quebecers would have been fucking pissed. Honestly, they could have gone out with pitchfork ready to make the French Revolution 2.0. But instead of doing that, François Legault and his cabinet took the virus seriously. They quickly established lockdown procedure, curfew and mask mandate. Anyone who didn't have a job deemed essential had to stay home, and the lockdown procedure and curfew would be slowly and procedurally lifted. But most important of all, Legault was doing these regular press conferences. Legault's handling of COVID has been far from flawless. A ton of criticism has been put on his handling of the crisis. In fact, Quebec has the highest death toll caused by COVID in the country, higher than Ontario, which has a way bigger population than Quebec. But regardless of the actual performance, most Quebecers has a favorable view on Legault's handling of COVID, and that's certainly because of these press conferences.